NASCAR is changing their championship format this offseason. We don't know what it's going to look like. We just know kind of that the single race championship is going away. So while it's still undecided, I have an idea I would like to submit. I'm going to solve your problems, my problems, NASCAR's problems, everybody's problems. I have it all figured out. Don't you worry. Stick with me through this video and I'll show you my format. This video is going to come to you in 5 parts. Part 1, we are in that right now. This is the introduction. Part 2 are the goals. I just have some key objectives I want to achieve for myself and also just guiding principles to keep it realistic. In part 3, I'm going to explain the format first quickly just to get through it, and then through 2025 season results. In part 4, I've created a simulated season using 2025 race data. It's not 20, we'll get there when we get there. Okay, part 5, we're gonna reflect back and analyze how this all worked, and we're gonna come back to the goals that I talk about in part 2, which is now. Welcome to part 2, where we discuss the goals of the format. All right, so goal number 1, not necessarily because it's the most important, it's just first on the list. Create more meaningful racing throughout the field and throughout the season. It's just kind of like a general objective. Okay, goal number 2 is to create some form of playoff or elimination. A 36 race full season point thing would be great, but I think we all know that that is not in the range of possibility. I'm trying to make this like realistic and practical. I'm giving you a genuine idea here. My compromise, if we're gonna have eliminations or we're gonna have some form of playoff, I want the focus to be on advancing. Right now, we're all about avoiding elimination. Okay, goal number 3, I want to try to cut back on the availability of bubble shenanigans, aka race manipulation. I want drivers to have more reason to focus on themselves and also just like, yeah, cut back on those opportunities for Spingate or Martinsville 2024 situations. Goal number 4, which, okay, I mean, like this should be number 1 if I really put them in order, would be to reward consistent drivers and to reward winners. I want to keep winning important, but like at the end of the day, I want consistency to win you the grand championship. And then rule number 5, if you will, is just to keep the current 26-10 schedule structure. Okay, so let's get into the format. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly. Things might seem a little crazy or not make sense, but when we actually put it into practice and I show you race results, I think it's going to make sense. So just stick with me through this portion. I'm giving you the bare bones, what you need to know, just kind of a quick infographic here. Okay, the regular season, 26 races. I think you understand this. These blocks represent the 36 drivers. In the playoff portion of my season, I've split it into 2 chunks, the chase for the cup and the NASCAR Cup Series Championship. The chase, we're bringing back the chase branding, but this isn't gonna look like your granddaddy's chase, all right? It's a little bit different. And then our top drivers out of the chase advance to the NASCAR Cup Series Championship to compete for the title. Let's talk about how you advance through these phases. To get from the regular season to become a chaser in the chase, you can finish top 10 in regular season points, or you can win a race. So this means our chase field, it could vary from year to year. We're letting those winners in. If you're worried about too many drivers making the chase, let's talk about how you actually advance to the championship. In order to qualify for the championship, you have to finish top 5 in chase points or be a chaser that wins a race. This is kind of the same thing where you can win from below, but the bulk of that field is going to make it on points. Also, we have the added element that you are getting your playoff points, both in the chase round and for the championship. Now, in terms of actually winning the championship, just score the most points over the last 5 races. Okay, so this is my format. Even if you're not sold on it yet, I hope you at least understand how you advance. And if you have questions and concerns, let's get into how this actually looks with race results. Okay, let's start looking at the 2025 season. So here are the chasers under my format who qualified for the chase. You can see the 10 drivers that made it on points and how clear they were the cut line. And then there are 7 drivers that won from below 10th in points. So yes, there are 17 drivers that qualified for the chase. Here they are with their playoff points. And now I want to get into the fact of why I'm calling it the chase and why I'm leaning into this chase concept. Point of this format is that anybody can qualify for the chase, right? If you win a race, you are qualified to compete in the chase. If you finish 10th in points, but you don't win a race, you are qualified to compete in the chase. Just because you're qualified to compete in the chase doesn't mean you have a chance to win the championship. Okay, so over here on the points table side where we actually see the cut line, this kind of emphasizes why I'm calling this the chase. You are chasing down the drivers at the top. If you want to qualify for the championship, you need to manage in the next 5 races to chase down and pass William Byron, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell. just on points. That is going to be very difficult. There's a reason those guys accumulated the most playoff points in the regular season. I'm keeping the win element in there. That's honestly kind of a buffer for a guy at the top, right? If you win a race, yes, you're safe. Like this 5 races, this is a small data set. And because the field can be so big, the win is almost like okay, sorry, the cut line was too high. Yes, you still have a chance to win the championship. Okay, so let's go ahead and put these points in here and see how the 2025 chase would have played out. Chase Briscoe, of course, swept at Darlington. Denny Hamlin won at Gateway. Christopher Bell won at Bristol. Ryan Blaney won at New Hampshire. And then Chase Elliott had a dramatic win at Kansas. So if you look at that top 5, the only person that really shot up there was Chase Briscoe. But look at what he did, right? He swept that race at Darlington, so he was good. But he kept putting up points, which he actually, there's an incentive to doing that. Let's take Christopher Bell, for example. Christopher Bell won at Bristol, but he only finished 8 points ahead of William Byron. So even though Bell had his win, if he would have fallen below Byron on the cut line, that would be an additional driver qualifying for the championship. So Bell wants as few drivers competing against him in the championship as possible, right? So it gives him an incentive beyond just like winning a race or stage for the playoff points. He wants to stay above that cut line for the sake of having less competition for the final 5 races. Anyway, if we're actually looking at the results here, I mentioned it, Chase Elliott advances on that Kansas win. He had a terrible day at Bristol, but put up 55 points and won in dramatic fashion at Kansas. Not going to act like that result would have played out the same way under this format, but still, Chase Elliott with a win from below the cut line. All right, here are the 6 drivers that qualified for the championship with their playoff points on the table. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell. They kind of were great all year. They had a great chase and they're advancing just fine. Chase Briscoe, he did not do as great in the regular season, but he won right at the beginning of the chase and he actually scored the most points in the chase, right? Chase Elliott, he won at Kansas. He was below the cut line, but he still won that race. He advanced. The 2 drivers that advanced kind of because of the chase are, well, first of all, I'll point out they're both named Chase, which I feel like that helps my case here. But the real point is that they are down 18 on Denny Hamlin entering the championship. So somehow they're gonna have to gain and pass 18 points on Denny Hamlin if they want to win the title. So they made it kind of a roundabout way. And because it was a roundabout way, it's harder to get up to that top spot. And at this point, it's all about consistency. It's all about points. For the final 5 races, there's no magic win. You just got to be elite. You got to be the best. So let's see how the 2025 results would have played out. And here's how it goes final. Kyle Larson wins the championship as he did in real life. So even though Kyle Larson won the real championship in like unsatisfying fashion against Denny Hamlin, and like he was kind of just there, he didn't like dominate. But if you frame his results in the context of my championship, you'll see why he ultimately was a champion in real life, even though the current format, the major flaw of it is that we got distracted looking at Denny Hamlin while Kyle Larson was putting up a phenomenal performance here at the end of the season. He finished 3rd in the regular season points. Fantastic. He entered the chase tied for 1st with 32 playoff points. He advanced out of the chase by a narrow margin, just 7 points. All right. He finished 5 laps down at Bristol. That was not good, but because of those playoff points and other point performances, he was able to advance. Where Larson really won the championship was in the championship round. In the 5 championship races, he finished in the top 5 4 times. 4 out of 5 races, he finished in the top 5. And that's how Kyle Larson won the championship. Ultimately, it's how we won the real championship too. It just doesn't feel that way. Okay, so to create my simulated season, I took a bunch of 2025 race data and I put it on the 2026 schedule. This is not a prediction of 2026. This isn't even me running back the 2025 season. I guess it kind of is. I just want to follow the season from start to finish with this format. All right, so we're going to run through this season 5 races at a time. I'll pause before the Daytona regular season finale. I'll do the playoffs in chunks. But let's just get into it. All right, races 1 through 5. Ryan Preece, congratulations. You have won the Daytona 500. Ryan Blaney wins at Atlanta. Alex Bowman wins at Coda and Vegas. And Christopher Bell wins at Phoenix. Okay, I'll guide you around your screen here. On the left side, this is your live regular season standings with a cut line. This should look somewhat familiar. We have our names on the left highlighted because they've won a race. However, we still keep their point margin because it is relevant if they stay above or below the cut line. Then their regular season point total, of course, and then their difference to the top spot on regular season points because they're going to want those regular season playoff point bonus paths. That's a lot of words. That's a lot of words. I think you already knew what was going on there. On the right side, we have the live chase points, as if the chase started today, if you will, where we're going to see how these point totals add up and who is going to be doing the chasing and who is going to be starting with an advantage. All right, let's go to the next batch of races. The spring set of races, 6 through 10, William Byron wins at Darlington, Chase Elliott wins at Martinsville, Kyle Larson collects wins at Bristol and Talladega, Denny Hamlin wins at Kansas. So we've already filled up most of our top 10 with winners. We do have a cut line battle between Bubba Wallace, Alex Bowman, Ross Chastain, Josh Berry, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric. We'll have to see how that shapes up. Ryan Preece below the cut line means that our current chase field is at 11 drivers. Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott are currently running away with the playoff points. Elliott leading the regular season standings with a win. Kyle Larson, 2 wins in second place. Let's do our next batch of races. Races 11 through 15. This is that spring stretch of the season where you kind of forget what's going on. I think we all know it. Congratulations, Carson Hocevar. You have collected a win at Texas. Ryan Blaney gets a pair of wins. Watkins Glen in Nashville. William Byron collects another win. It's the Coke 600. And Ross Chastain wins at Michigan. Byron is certainly our main character of the season so far. He has 2 wins and is leading the regular season standings. He's, of course, leading the chase points. Ross Chastain is a winner sitting at that cut line. That's a little bit interesting. Races 16 through 20, Ryan Blaney wins again, his 4th win on the season. It comes at Pocono. Tyler Reddick, who's been having a quietly consistent year, collects a win in San Diego. SVG gets his road course win at Sonoma. Kyle Larson collects another win on the return to Chicagoland, and Chase Elliott wins again at Atlanta. So Ryan Blaney is certainly our big winner so far this year. 4 wins, that has him at the top of the playoff points. He is also doing good on regular season points. Tyler Reddick is Mr. Consistent, along with Chase Elliott. They're the top 2 in the regular season standings. They also have wins, and as you can see, they are our lead chasers as things stand. So let's do this last little stretch of summer leading up to the regular season finale. All right, so we have a big batch of new winners here wrapping out the regular season, which is kind of blowing up my table over there on the left. Okay, so yes, Joey Logano does still make it with 1 regular season win, but if you look over on the right at the chase points, he's way down on the table. Bubba Wallace goes back to back. He was floating around the cut line, so that's a nice win for him. That actually takes away one of our storylines. Ryan Preece, who won at Daytona, finally finds his way back to victory lane at Richmond. He's at 11th in points, so he's slowly been crawling his way back up. And Christopher Bell wins at New Hampshire. So we certainly have, I'd say, our big 3 of this season. Okay, I'll call out honestly, it's that whole top 5, right? Byron has 2 wins and is leading the standings. Reddick is still up there. Bell has 2 wins now. Blaney's 4 wins. Larson's 3 wins. Elliott's 2 wins. We see the main characters there, and that is reflected on the right side in the chase points as well. As we enter the regular season finale, a lot of our guys are on the bubble already have wins. Gibbs and Cindric, they would have to have something go wrong with Briscoe or Buescher, or there's also a scenario where something goes wrong with Bubba Wallace. Now, I want to kind of revisit something I talked about earlier, but I haven't talked about since, is the opportunity for some race manipulation shenanigans. Bubba Wallace, Ty Gibbs, or Chris Buescher, Preece. We have some teammates around this cut line here, but because the cut line is interacting with all of them instead of just like 2 guys, there's not as much opportunity for race manipulation. Okay, Jackson from the future here to clean up the point I was trying to make. Wallace going down does not get Ty in because Gibbs is still battling with Preece and Chastain and Bowman. And similarly, Preece can't tank because Bowman is right there behind anyway. We're still gonna have like teammates working together, whatever. Bowman and Chastain definitely don't want these guys in, right? Like Bowman and Chastain have a reason to fight for the bubble. So we can follow the cut line in the broadcast in the bottom left corner, but it's not the traditional like Buescher versus Gibbs, right? Like there's more going on in there is my point. Also, I need to say that I didn't vocalize that Brad Keselowski got the Iowa win. Anyway, okay, continue on. Okay, after our regular season finale at Daytona, congratulations Ryan Preece. He collected another win, backing up his Daytona 500, sweeping the Daytona races. He also won that Richmond race a few weeks ago, meaning he actually makes it into the top 10 on points, and he's going to collect an extra playoff point for that effort. Ryan Blaney is our top chase driver. He had 4 wins on the season, finished 4th in the regular season. Byron and Bell actually tied for the regular season title. Ty Gibbs ends up missing the playoffs. He misses the chase by 44 points, and we have a full field of 17 heading into the chase round. All right, so here is the start of the chase. Here's how we set up with just our playoff points in the table. Our big winners from the season, Ryan Blaney, he's looking good. Kyle Larson's up by 7. Byron, Elliott, Reddick, they're all floating around the cut line. They were really good on points. They didn't quite stack up the winning playoff points. Down at the bottom, you can see those guys that won but didn't do much else. Logano, Wallace, he had his win and he was floating around the cut line but couldn't get into the top 10 to get bonus points. Hocevar didn't do much. Briscoe didn't do a ton. Busher didn't do a ton. You know, you can follow it up the list, and I feel like this is a fair balance to start the chase. After the first 3 races of the chase, the first of which was won by Denny Hamlin, he's going on to the championship. Gateway was won by Chase Elliott. He's going on to the championship, and Ty Gibbs wins Too Little Too Late. So Blaney, Bell, and Briscoe actually are all looking good on points. Like the real life Chase Briscoe, he was able to put up a phenomenal day at Darlington, and that's going to move him up above the cut line. Kyle Larson, William Byron, I'll even shout out Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick, they all had bad days at Bristol, and that knocks them all below the cut line for now. There's still 2 races to go. Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott are our 2 winners, but they are going to want to stay above that cut line pretty critically, especially because it's both of them. Right now, the championship field is 5. If they fall below, it could increase to 7. The end of the chase, Kyle Larson wins at Kansas. He was way down below after that Bristol race, but makes it back by sweeping the Kansas race. Denny Hamlin actually collects his 2nd win of the chase at Las Vegas. That's going to get him bonus playoff points for the championship. Chase Elliott finishes below the cut line, but with his win at Gateway, he's ready to advance to the championship. Our bubble battle ends up being kind of between Briscoe, Hamlin, Reddick. It ends up being a pretty clear cut between our top 5 and the rest of the field. And if we reflect back on our regular season points and our main guys, this is kind of who we saw. Tyler Reddick is certainly getting snubbed a little bit, but that day at Bristol, he only had 1 race where he scored above 40 points, just Las Vegas there at the end. So Reddick, good regular season, didn't quite get it done in the chase. But no one moving out of the chase really undeserving. I mean, Chase Briscoe put up some good days. He's kind of the one that's slipping in here at the end. All right, so here's how we move on to the championship. Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, clear top 4. Chase Briscoe, who did okay in the regular season. He qualified, obviously, and in the chase, he had some good runs. He's going to start minus 26. All right, there are the first 3 races of the championship. Denny Hamlin gets the win at Phoenix, but Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell have separated themselves through the first 3 races. None of them winning the race, doing it all on points, especially with a messy Talladega race in there that caught Chase Elliott and knocked him down the standings. As the championship goes final, Kyle Larson, he wins the championship. He won that race at Martinsville by sweeping it and scoring the fastest lap point. His margin of victory over Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell, 12 and 19 points, and then Briscoe, Elliott, and Hamlin all finished way back. This champion in my fake season, Kyle Larson, he finished 5th in the regular season points, and he actually entered the chase as the number 4 seed. In the chase, he finished 2nd on points. He scored 1 win, and he was above the cut by 31 points. And at the end of it, he had 5 wins on the season. Spring Bristol, Spring Talladega, Chicagoland, chase race at Kansas, championship race at Martinsville. All right, let's reflect back on these goals that I established at the start of the video and see if my format matched them as we played through some seasons there. Wanted to create more meaningful racing throughout the field and throughout the season. I think I made playoff points even more important because you're going to want to be in that top 5. You won't be able to settle for 12. You're going to need 17 to 20 to be a serious contender. And in terms of meaningful racing throughout the field, it's kind of like it is today where you have 2 points battles, but I think they would be emphasized more in this scenario than they are today. Today's points battle in the regular season is just that cut line that is going to move anyway. In this scenario, you have the points battle for the regular season top 10 and bonus points, and also just to make it into that top 10. And so rather than this like moving cut line, this is a block of the standings that you are looking at for multiple reasons. So I feel like that creates more meaningful racing throughout the field. When I say throughout the field, I don't mean 25th to 30th. Number 2, to keep some form of playoff and elimination, I did that. I kept the drama. I kept the win drama, the magic win. I think that's the drama of the elimination and the playoff. I kept that, but I turned the point side of things to be more strict, and the win is not knocking somebody that's consistent. The person winning is truly a bonus. They're a wild card that put themselves there, if you will, if they're below the cut line, but the guys up with the elite consistency are still advancing. They are not getting screwed over. Less bubble shenanigans. I think I accomplished that by how I handled the cut line. Instead of the cut line moving with drivers and wins, it's just a stagnant spot and more drivers interact with it. Also, when you're in the chase, it's like the top 5. So like Joey Logano and Cole Custer battling for 20th. Like that's less likely to impact the championship and who moves on, because everyone competing for the championship should be running together in the top 10. Reward consistent drivers and winners. The win is like a magic bonus, like I said, but at the end of the day, you have to win the championship on consistency. And keeping the current 26-10 schedule, I don't love creating a playoff format. The point of this was like, I want to create something that meets these objectives. I think it keeps NASCAR happy, but also is something where I can look at it and be like, yes, that was a satisfying way to find a champion, and the champion is satisfying because of how they accomplished that. Does that make sense? I hope this was an interesting video. Thanks for sticking around here to the end to hear me out. I think I had a little bit of a case here. I really want to know. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? I mean, tell me, am I dumb? Was this ridiculous? Do you have a change here or there? What do you think about the winners? How do we handle winners? I've seen people throw out that like the early 2010s format where we had the 10 on points and the 2 wild card, and then you race the 10 races. And I used to be on that train. I almost don't even want a 10 race chase. Like if you're doing a full 10 race chase, then why aren't we just doing the full season championship? Like if we're going to break the season down, we might as well like break it down. You know what I'm saying? That was kind of my thought process here. I haven't made a YouTube video in a while. I hope this was interesting. Thanks for sticking around. Consider subscribing to catch when the next one comes out, I guess. I assume there will be one someday. Okay, that's all I got. Have a good day.